Welcome to another video from ExplainingComputers.com. This time it's another of our twice yearly channel updates, although in this video I'm mainly going to be talking about developments in the computing industry because there's not a lot of channel news, and so I'll leave that to the end. So let's begin with an update on RAM and storage prices, Linux evolution, and NVIDIA's entry into the PC processor market. A few videos back, I talked about the future of home computing. This included predictions for the increased use of agentic AI interfaces, as well as the integration of the CPU, GPU, and RAM into a system in a package, or SIP. This has already occurred on Apple computers, and 8 days after my video released, NVIDIA announced RTX Spark. This it called a superchip and has been developed with MediaTek as a family of very powerful SIPs. The first top-of-the-range NX1 RTX Spark will have a 20-core NVIDIA Grace ARM CPU, an NVIDIA Blackwell RTX GPU with 6144 CUDA cores, and up to 128GB of unified RAM. According to NVIDIA, an NX1 RTX Spark will be able to run very powerful AI agents locally and will be capable of playing AAA games at 1440p at over 100 frames per second. At the other end of the spectrum, there will also be lower-tier chips with an entry-level RTX Spark N1 expected to have a 10-core CPU, a 2024 CUDA core GPU, and up to 64GB of RAM. The first RTX Spark hardware will include high-end laptops from ASUS, Dell, HP, Lenovo, Microsoft, and MSI. As the launch continues, 30 laptops and 10 mini PC desktops are expected. So, whilst details are scarce right now, this is not just a laptop thing. In my view, RTX Spark is the most significant development in the computing industry in 2026 we currently know about. In part, this is because it's designed to deliver very powerful local agentic AI interfaces. Or, as Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, has expressed matters, for 40 years you launched apps, click, type. With RTX Spark and Microsoft Windows, you ask and the PC does the work. However, the implications for home computer hardware are, I think, at least as significant for two reasons. For a start, RTX Spark has ARM CPU cores, not x86. And with a lot of applications, including games supporting the platform, this will give a massive boost to Windows on ARM. So, soon the mainstream choice in the desktop and laptop market will be between Intel x86 Windows computers, AMD x86 Windows computers, NVIDIA ARM Windows computers, Qualcomm ARM Windows computers, and ARM Macs. In time, options will, I'm sure, exist to run Linux on all of this hardware, and RISC-V processors and other ARM SIPs will also enter the market. So, RTX Spark is very much a part of the ongoing fragmentation of end-user hardware platforms. Secondly, because RTX Spark chips integrate the CPU, GPU, and RAM, their arrival will accelerate the trend towards mini PC desktop hardware as well as both laptop and desktop hardware with few upgrade options. And whilst many of us instinctively don't like this, it isn't a surprise. The dominant home computing device is already the smartphone, and these do not have upgradable graphics, memory, or storage. Following the launch of the first IBM PC as an open modular system, desktop computers have somehow survived as the only major piece of consumer technology that could be self-built and upgraded. But the launch of RTX Spark means that fewer and fewer home computers will be descendants of the first IBM PCs with which hobbyists can tinker. The launch of RTX Spark hardware will be constrained by high RAM and storage prices. Back in January, I made a video about the current market situation, and many people have asked me to provide updates. So, where do we now stand? Well, the AI bubble has not burst, and RAM, SSD and hard drive prices remain high. Back with NVIDIA, on June the 7th, Reuters reported CEO Jensen Huang saying that memory and other shortages would persist for several years. And a few days later, an AMD exec told TechRadar that RAM pricing will not normalise until 2028. Certainly, prices are volatile, resulting in occasional dips in some territories. But in my January 2026 video, I listed 6 new facilities that are currently being constructed by the 3 major RAM and flash storage manufacturers. As we can see, these are mainly focused on increasing the supply of the high bandwidth memory, or HBM, that's in very high demand for AI data centers. And given that most of this additional plant will not enter full production until 2027 or 2028, we should expect constrained supply and high prices for memory and storage until then. The implications for consumer computing may also be permanent. Anticipating this, in April, the CEO of Framework, Nirav Patel, wrote this excellent post. In it, he noted that there is a very real scenario in which personal computing as we know it is dead. As he continued, memory, storage, silicon and everything related to it is being consumed at unprecedented levels in a winner-takes-all race to an AI-first world. The computer in the cloud has increasingly greater economic output than the computer in the hand. This means that to the extent that there are constraints on the supply that feeds both, the cloud will win every time. We see this in the rapidly rising costs of silicon and all of the devices that depend on it, the shift from ownership to subscription, and the rise of closed black boxes over an open ecosystem. Nirav Patel is sadly, I imagine, almost certainly correct. As we've just seen with RTX Spark, we now have an accelerating trend towards the integration of the CPU, GPU and RAM, and whilst this is good for performance and also for end use, it inevitably will lead us towards a world with more sort of black box devices, as Nirav was talking about, mini PCs as desktops, with fewer opportunities for home users and hobbyists to select their own components and build and upgrade and maintain their own systems. This, I think, in time, therefore, will lead to the growth of retro computing as a really important hobbyist frontier. Today, lots of people are into retro computing, it's here already, but I think that will grow amongst all those people who want to have the sort of real hands-on affinity with their hardware. And people in the future who want to have some control over the most modern computing experience, I imagine are likely to do so far more often by using AI to mod their own applications than they will be to select and upgrade and maintain their own hardware. Before I move on to channel news, I want to say a few words about Linux, and not about particular distros or technologies, but about the broader and expanding Linux user base. On this channel, I try to make content to make Linux as accessible as possible for as many people as possible, and therefore I target my Linux content towards general computer users. But unfortunately, this increasingly seems to bring me into conflict in the comments on the channel with highly technical people who still seem to believe that everyone who uses Linux should be deeply technical and should expect to configure the operating system themselves. In my view, one of the great things about Linux is that we have lots of different distros which can meet the needs of lots of different user groups. But one of the bad things about Linux right now, it seems to me, is that a very large proportion of distros still present themselves as being really suitable for beginners, when this isn't always the case. And I've been thinking about this quite a lot, and I don't think it's because lots of distros try to misrepresent themselves. I think they're doing trying to be as good as they can to the community. But the thing that's changed is that not that many years ago, almost every desktop Linux beginner was a technically skilled computer user, or they wouldn't have been experimenting with Linux in the first place. But over the past few years, a lot more of those migrating to Linux have been non-technical general computer users who quite understandably compare their experience to Windows. Such people therefore expect drivers and other basic operating system functionality to work straight out of the box. And indeed, they often focus far more on turnkey functionality than the benefits and philosophy of open source. All of this means that the average desktop Linux beginner today is very different to someone from 5 years ago. And this is something that distro publishers and the wider community needs to consider. On this channel, I will continue to make Linux content that primarily targets general computer users, and this will inevitably influence how I approach things like distro reviews. This said, I totally understand that there are some deeply technical people who watch the content here, for whom configuring the operating system themselves and setting things up themselves is their passion. It's their hobby, it's sometimes their career, it's what they want to do, and that's great as well. And therefore all I would ask is that when it comes to Linux content on this channel, we can all be mutually respectful of the different perspectives of the deeply technical user and the general computer user. We all want Linux, I'm sure, if we are a Linux user, to be more widely used and to bring more and more good to more and more people. So hopefully we can create a community here, maintain a community here of mutual respect, of tolerance, even if communities of tolerance are not that common now in the modern world. Greetings! For this final segment of the video, I thought we'd move to my desk where I write and edit most Explaining Computers content to say a few things about what's been going on the channel and what will be coming up on the channel. The last time I made one of these updates, we were celebrating 10 years of weekly uploads, and nothing momentous like that is going on right now, although back in March the channel came of age when we celebrated 18 years since the first upload. More broadly, the channel continues to do well. Views are pretty stable, and I mention this because in the past 6 months or so, a lot of tech YouTubers have reported falling views, and they've attributed this, a lot of the time anyway, to the fact that people are now using AI to help them do things rather than searching and then finding a YouTube video and watching the YouTube video. So it's getting more difficult, some people have said anyway, to actually get views on sort of how-to and explaining and tutorial videos because of that AI trend. And because of that, I've seen some videos saying all tech YouTube channels have got falling views. And all I can say is, this channel doesn't. And touch wood, that's going to continue. But I think the reason is perhaps because people's migration towards asking AI rather than watching a video with a person in it is a bit sort of demographically skewed. And if we look at recent figures for this channel, 2026 to date and the 2 previous years, we can see that the channel has just passed the point where the majority of viewers are now over the age of 45. And the single largest demographic on the basis of how YouTube gathers the figures is people over the age of 65 rather than 25 to 34-year-olds. And I think this may explain why this channel's views have held up, because I think the older you are, the less likely you are to trust a hallucinating AI to tell you about something rather than watching a video with a human being. This all said, I want to make it clear that whilst the channel's demographic is greying, I'm not going to be focusing on making content here just for older people. I make content for everybody. I guess I don't make content for teenagers with a sort of zero attention span. I'm not really I don't edit in that style, as you know, but I will continue to make content as I have. But I just thought you might be interested in that changing demographic. Talking about content, over the past 6 months or so, a lot of videos that have done well on the channel have been about Linux. That's not a surprise. Those videos will continue to be made. But also, I've had quite a lot of success here in the past 6 months with videos about storage, and more storage videos will be coming up. And also, videos on what I could call sort of general computing topics, sort of analysis of what's going on in the computing industry, themes, things like that. So, for example, there was a video recently on the future of home computing, which did very well. And in the past, when I've made videos like that, they've tended to get very, very positive feedback, but not that many views. And this seems to have changed a bit in the past 6 months. So there will be more videos coming up about general changes in the computing industry. I guess we're in a time of major transition. Maybe that's why that kind of video is getting popular. Also coming up will be my 2026 quantum computing annual update, which will be my 10th quantum computing annual update, and therefore an update on the past decade as well, which is can't believe I've been doing it for 10 years, but that's happened. I also hope to get back to projects now and then. My favourite video of the past 6 months was building a custom mini ITX case, and I hope to do occasional projects a bit like that. Now, something we haven't seen as much of on the channel in the past 6 months have been videos on single board computers. There have only been 4 single board computer videos in 6 months, and that's partially because the market for consumer SBCs is changing. One of the videos I made was about that, and I talked about the impact of, again, RAM and storage prices putting SBCs out of the maker price bracket a lot of the time, and I'll be focusing on only the lower cost boards. But also, just circumstances have made things happen. I had a microcontroller project video all raring to go, and it didn't work, so that didn't become a video. I've got a couple of boards on order that haven't arrived, so they will eventually arrive on the channel and be reviewed, but we haven't got them. And one of those boards is a RISC-V board, an RVA23 compliant RISC-V board. I've been hoping to get my hands on one of those for a long time. That will be coming up, and that will lead to other, I think, RISC-V content. Finally, I'd just like to thank all of the channel members here for supporting the channel. Channel memberships are now 4 years old. I've made over 50 members-only videos. I can't believe that's happened either, but it has. So thanks to all channel members. Without channel member support, I couldn't continue to make the weekly videos the way I've been doing. So channel members are an important part of the channel. But now that's it for another video. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, please press that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And I hope to talk to you again very soon.